stand before you today in awe of this decisive moment, with hope for the future it promises, and with immense pride in the founding ideals of this nation. Today, the federal court gave hope to millions of Americans across this country who face the sting of official discrimination. Today, our system of justice has said to the nation, all Americans are entitled to the same freedoms. All Americans are worthy of the full weight and protection of our laws, and all Americans are accorded equal rights under the Constitution. This is not our first victory, and it's not our last battle. But today, as we have done at each moment in the long struggle for freedom and equality, we affirm that this is a nation that lives up to its historic promise, a nation of liberty and justice for all. No one is more driven by that principle of justice than the two remarkable attorneys who partnered with the American Foundation for Equal Rights to lead this legal battle, Ted Olson, David Boies, and their teams. We would not be here without their extraordinary talents, their patriotism, and their unshakable commitment to this cause. Ted and David, thank you. I am also deeply grateful to our supporters, those who are with us here today, as well as those joining our celebration online. You realize that everyone has a stake in today's ruling, because any denial of freedom to anyone undermines the principles on which this country was founded and undermines freedom for everyone, everywhere. We came to this moment because two American families, two loving families, decided to challenge the notion that their commitment could only be second class in the eyes of the law. Paul and Jeff and Chris and Sandy simply want the same thing that millions of Americans cherish as the most important, most fulfilling, and most stabilizing influence in their lives: marriage. They simply want to enjoy the same rights and fulfill the same responsibilities as other married couples. And our government should not and must not stand in their way. That is the promise of our Declaration of Independence, that we are a nation that believes every man and woman is endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. Those rights are guarded and sustained by the Constitution, not by government officials, not by elected officials, and certainly not by ballot initiatives. Our rights are fundamental. They are the birthright of every American. That's why the American Foundation for Equal Rights took up this landmark case. We challenged in a court of law the flawed, unconstitutional arguments that long have been used to deny Americans their rights. That gay marriage, the love between two adults, is somehow a danger to society. That how we are born, our sexual orientation, not our love or personal commitment, somehow defines a marriage. That state-sponsored discrimination is somehow justified and should be institutionalized with respect to marriage. And after a lengthy trial, a fair trial, the court rejected the false logic that has been used for so many years to rationalize that blatant discrimination. But this trial did more than expose that false logic. It embraced the fundamental American values of freedom and fairness. It upheld the notion that the greatness of this country lies in the ability of each successive generation to broaden the scope of freedom, to deepen the notion of liberty, and to strengthen the very principle of justice. Today's decision affirms that under the Constitution, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people cannot discriminate against the people. This decision strengthens marriage by expanding it to include couples that seek it and who would benefit from it. This decision reaffirms the power of marriage to strengthen responsibility and community and to ensure that all Americans in their golden and vulnerable years will be able to live their lives with more security, more dignity, and more love. But there's another powerful consequence of this decision that I hope all Americans take into account. Today, there are millions of gay people across the country. There are your neighbors, your friends, and your family. They see how marriage strengthens the bonds of family and community, and they wonder, can they ever have that same strength and stability? Or will their government continue to say that marriage is not for them? Today's decision gives gay Americans the hope and strength and comfort that they too can have a future filled with love, commitment, and shared responsibility. And so today, we begin the process of saying to the millions of people who are made to feel ostracized, besieged, bullied, and ashamed of how God made them, be who you are, love who you love, and marry who you wish to marry. As gay and straight citizens take to the streets in celebration here in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Denver, Dallas, and New York, I know there are millions who must celebrate quietly across America. Places where merely taking the hand of a loved one still feels like a revolutionary act. To those quiet millions, to the teenager in Bakersfield who aches for acceptance, to the college student in Salt Lake who only seeks liberty and equality, and to the couple in Topeka who longs to openly share their commitment and love, this victory is for you. Because in ending the public sanctioning of discrimination in our laws, we render unacceptable the private discrimination you must bear. This is not the only victory needed to close that gap between the lives you lead and the lives you deserve, but it is a critical victory, one that honors the principles that define America. The principles that stirred a convention in Seneca Falls, the principles that fueled tireless marches through Selma, Birmingham, and Washington, D.C., the principles that sparked the fires of resistance at the Stonewall Inn, and the principles that inspire us in this urgent struggle to uphold the right to life, liberty, love, and the pursuit of happiness. The American Foundation for Equal Rights will continue to stand up and fight for these principles, for these founding constitutional rights of all Americans, until we truly are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.